Cloud. There you go. Excellent. All right. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock. It's about that time. We have to get started and jump right in. There are several people who are obviously absent today. That's not terribly good. It is what it is on a nice sunny day. I guess spring occurs and the clock moving forward kind of threw off a little bit of our mojo. As I made a promise to you, and Joe, so you know, this is their return back from their version of a couple of days off. They had a version of spring break, right? Whatever, or spring pause, I guess it is. So it wasn't really even a break because it wasn't spring park. It was spring cruise to a stop sign, then cruise through. So, but I'm appreciative of you guys coming back. As I announced to you early in the semester, if things would play out right, and I could form some alliances with vendors from outside the school that, God bless you, that run their own business in a special, specific way, that cater to using online technologies to communicate with the world. Today, we have a very good friend of mine. As it comes to be, I got involved with a local organization, a users group, a chamber of commerce. That chamber of commerce ended up being involved with another users group that does online lecturing. I volunteered to do a lecture online about what it means to do some video work for your online personality. And I met this nice young man, Joe Sartori, and I are now very good friends. He's a very popular realtor in the Philadelphia region, just as a region. He has a business that does specific things to attract people who are in the middle of cleaning out their homes, maybe an older relatives in a situation where they're selling out their home and they need to clean it out. And he has a business that does that. So he and I had a long talk about what it means to communicate with the world. And he is so on top of his game regarding using new internet-based media to find new clients organically. So he volunteered to come in and talk to you about what he does to find new clients organically, what it means for him to publicize himself to the world, looking for new clients. And so he's here today. So online is, again, a very good friend of mine, Joe Sartori. He's going to walk you through a PowerPoint and take you through some of his website content. So this is a very educational experience for you. It was great for me when he took me through it. I learned a lot myself, and he's a magic user. He's a magic user of the internet to find new clients. He knows how to throw the fishing line out and reel it in. So Joe, I'm appreciative of your time, and I'm thankful. And the students from York College of Pennsylvania up here in York, PA, and these students are from everywhere, by the way, New Jersey, Delaware, Philadelphia, all over the place. So they're not just from this area up in Harrisburg. So they're from all over. And we're very much appreciative of your time. So you might be talking to people who live right in your backyard. So Joe, you can take it away. And Joe is looking for some questions at some point from us today too. So he knows we have about an hour to get this all finished. So Joe, you are on. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. I'm going to share with you some information on marketing, social media marketing, and I'm going to share it with you from more or less an entrepreneurial perspective. And when I say that, I'm talking about taking a look at how can you promote your business. And I use the term guerrilla marketing. I'm not sure if anybody knows the term guerrilla marketing, but it's sort of a fancy little catchphrase for getting the most out of spending the least. So for any of you in the classroom over there that are thinking about starting your own business, guerrilla marketing is going to be very important. Why? Because you don't have unlimited funds. For those of you who may not be going into the entrepreneurial world, but may want to go into the corporate world, you're going to hit an immediate home run if you're sensitive to not only spreading the word out there, getting the message out and hitting your target market audience, but doing it effectively and efficiently, getting the biggest bang for your buck without spending a ton of money. So that's the perspective I'm going to share with you. And so let me begin. I'll do the old screen share situation over here. All right. All right, so this is, I guess this is on the smaller screen over here. It's a little bit easier for me to use this than the big screen flipping back and forth for some reason. So if you're starting your own business, and again, I'm approaching this from an entrepreneurial standpoint, you want to start with what's your vision? In other words, what's your product or service? And most importantly, what's your value added point of difference? What makes you different? What's the so what factor out there? Are you just another hamburger joint? Are you just another landscaper? What is your unique value added proposition over here? Then we'll go into guerrilla marketing and some strategies and tactics for you. Okay, in terms of, who am I? Why is this important to you, or why you might feel that this could be beneficial to you? Let me just share a little brief overview of who I am and what I do. I'm the co-founder of a company called Personal Property Managers. My background, I was a senior manager, actually a VP with Anheuser-Busch, Pepsi, and Kellogg for about 25 years. My undergraduate work was in Jersey at Seton Hall, and my graduate degree is from the University of Pennsylvania. And I just want to share some insights with you, very practical things, hands-on stuff that you can use today and whatever it is that you're doing from an entrepreneurial standpoint, building your brand, which is super, super important in guerrilla marketing. Okay, so where do you begin? You begin by building your vision, who you are, what you do, how you do it, and then you start putting what I call arms and legs on things. Then you got to develop some strategies and tactics to accomplish your vision. You want to find out who's doing it now and how can you make it better. You want to always build your brand, and I'll show you some examples of those things. What's going to be that brand look, that feel? What are your services? What are you offering out there? Again, focusing on that value-added point of difference. Then you want to build a website, and your website wants to tie this all in together for guerrilla marketing purposes. Okay, your vision. Let me give you an example. For us, and again, the name of my company is here on the bottom right. It's called Personal Property Managers. For us, we want to be a one-stop services for all things relating to residential real estate, okay? And what do I mean by that? That's home cleanouts and downsizing it. In other words, getting a property market ready for sale. Content, we do content liquidation, in other words, estate sales. We also do high-end executive home watch services for those people who are corporate executives that may take overseas assignments for 1, 2, or 3 years. Got to keep an eye on home, we do that. And we also do full service real estate buy and sell. So we want to be that one-stop service for anything relating to the property and its contents. How I initially came up with this vision, believe it or not, is with Microsoft and Microsoft Office. Those of you who don't know this, but before Microsoft Office, there were separate programs. Now we have everything tied into Office, but before Microsoft Office, there were Excel. They had their own version called Lotus 123. We have PowerPoint. They had a program called Harvard Graphics. We have Word. There was WordStar. All of those spoke different languages, and what Microsoft did a great job is bundling them all together. That's what I wanted to do in developing our company. And the people love it because they don't want to call Mary for this, John for this, Jim for this, Harry for that. They want one single point of contact, and that's our value-added proposition. So if you're building your media and marketing campaign around this vision, you need to focus in on who are your target clients. You want to fish where the fish are. We use an expression on that, fish where the fish are. You don't want to be targeting people that are out there that may never use your service. For example, in my business, my target audience is adult children. Adult children are people that are pretty much 50 years old or older, and they're taking care of an elderly loved one that might be 80, 90 years old. So it's adult children who may be caregivers of elderly loved ones, or maybe an elderly loved one passed away and now they're an executor of an estate. The other target market that we have are people in transition, people who are moving, people who are relocating. They want us to do everything with their property and its content. So you may be asking, so why is this important? Well, it's important to me, and I'm going to show you real life examples of this stuff. So this is not me talking, just waxing philosophically about strategies and tactics. This is important because now you're going to design your company based on your vision. You're going to target market. You're marketing towards your target client personnel. Again, in my case, it's adult children who are caregivers or executors of estates and people in transition. Let me give you an example of a couple things. I mean, this is coming right from my website, so I'm going to stop it here and I'm going to really take you over to my website. So let me do this thing over here, share. So this is my website. Now, everybody's got a different opinion on websites, but I'll share with you on how I designed and developed my website. So I have my header. This is my look, my feel. Again, I'm dealing with adult children, right? Who may be caregivers of elderly loved ones, right? Or families somehow growing and or in transition. Maybe they're relocating from Pennsylvania and they're taking another job elsewhere and they're going out to Seattle, they're going overseas, whatever, they need our services. So I tried to make my site as friendly, user-friendly as possible, again, with our services. What are our services? We do downsizing and estate sales. So you click over here, you can find more information. Senior transition services, you're taking care of an elderly loved one. Our home watch services, which I described. We do rental properties, real estate, and of course, we're here to bundle it together and how it works and how we can help people over here. And again, so I try to be as simple as possible and make it as user-friendly as possible. So for anything to do with estate downsizing, and downsizing is a fancy word for cleaning out somebody's home contents to make it market ready for sales, decluttering. And we have everything from cleaning out hoarder homes to working with social workers, anything to do with the property and its contents, senior transition, home watch, rental properties, real estate services. So I just wanted to give you, this is kind of our brand. This is a look. This is a feel. This is consistent on every single page, right? And then I have a series of drop-down boxes. So this is about us, some video blogs, some testimonials, resource links, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. Blogging, I'll show you where we blog. This all ties in together, and then we even have videos. So I just wanted to give you a feel for, again, this is our vision. Now I'm putting arms and legs on things, so we're molding it together on this. So let me go back to the presentation on this thing. Is everybody with me so far on this? You guys getting this?
Yeah, I'm here with you.
Okay.
We're watching. Thank you so much.
All right. All right. So remember, I shared with you before, it's really, really important to know who your clients are. And what you want to do is fish where the fish are. You want to focus in on those clients. So I'm giving you real life data. This is real time, real life data of who our particular clients are. And there's a program, it's actually free. And again, this is part of my shtick with guerrilla marketing. It's free stuff, getting the most out of the spending the least. There's a program that Professor DeVideo can share with you called Google Analytics, for those of you who may have a website, and it's all free. Google tracks every single thing that you do, every single thing. And I'm going to share with you on this. So my clients, they're 55% female and 45% call it male. Okay, so that's good information on it. How about the age? So we already know the male and female breakdown. How about the age? And you could see that the bulk of my business, 2/3 of my business are age 45 and older. So why is that important? Well, you guys are all familiar with, Instagram and TikTok and all the really cool stuff that's out there, right? Guess what? My clients are not. They're not into that. They're the old timers that may be still into Facebook and LinkedIn and all the other blogging sites that are out there. It's just really, really important. So 2/3 of mine are older people. So I'm not going to waste my time or effort and energy on TikTok things or Instagram things that's geared towards younger people. The younger people are not into my stuff. They don't need my services. Okay, so what are the people using when they look up our stuff on the internet? Well, by far away, almost 60% of them are on the Apple iPhone. And then you can drill down from there. The iPad, people are into Samsung phones and so on and so forth. It's actually pretty cool data, and this is all free. Okay, where are my specific searches come from? The bulk of my searches, and this is the ultimate dream of any marketer, and I'll tell you why in a second on this. The bulk of my business is coming in with organic searches. And Professor DeVideo could go into more information on what an organic search is versus social media and so on. So I do social media advertising. I'm going to show you how we do that. Referrals, direct, but the bulk is organic. That means the people are coming to us. We're hitting those key search terms and phrases that people look up to find whatever they're looking for. Now, maybe yourself, you're going on to Yelp and you're looking for an Italian restaurant in York, right? And you're Googling that. That's an organic search. And then direct would be you're typing in the business name or the restaurant's name. Okay, what pages do people look at for my particular site? And I write a whole series of articles, and where are they coming in? What pages are they looking at? One of the top pages is, why can't I sell my home contents? We get a ton of calls from people that, Aunt Betty died, I'm moving, grandma needs to go into a nursing home, and she's got a lot of stuff and I want to sell a bunch of my stuff, right? We do a lot of estate sales, high-end estate sales. Well, guess what? Not everything is saleable. What do I mean by that in the definition, right? Everybody today wants the newer stuff, the newer styles, the newer colors. The newer colors are grays or whites. You might be too young to be out in the market looking for a house, but everybody wants the newer stuff, the grays or the whites. Unlike years ago, your parents' generation, when we bought stuff, we kept it for 20 and 30 years. That's not the case today. They keep it for 5 or 6 years and then they want to get rid of it. They're going to a place like a Raymore and Flanagan's or a Bob's or an Ashley's or a Mealy. They're buying stuff. They're taking it out on credit. There's no payment, no interest for 2 years. So a lot of people come to us and want us to sell their stuff, but most of it is just who's buying somebody. Would you guys want to buy somebody's 18-year-old living room set? Would you want to buy somebody's 25-year-old dining room sets? No, so it's unrealistic. So here's a look, absentee home watch, we do that. Here's just a snapshot of our top pages. This is important because now I know where to promote and what to promote. Social networks, as I said before, remember, my business is skewed towards older people. Well, guess what? 70% of the social networks that are out there are on Facebook, at least for my clients out there. So the old timers like myself, the people that need our services, the bulk of them are coming in. You can see over here, 85% are coming in on a combination. That's huge between Facebook and LinkedIn. And then of course, then there's Yelp. Then I have blogs on WordPress, and there's Instagram, and there's YouTube. So now that we know all this, what's the, it's the so what factor. So we know who our clients are, right? I just shared that with you. We know where they search now. Why? Because of that particular age group and their need. We know what social networks they use. We even know what devices we use. So this is super important, guys, because I now know where to target. I mean, if you're just starting, you have no idea. If you're going with a company, you have no idea who the heck your clients are. You're going to be wasting a lot of time and certainly waste a lot of money and resources trying to reach people that could probably care less about your products or your services. So that's why this stuff is really, really important. And to find this information out on like Google Analytics can show you a lot of this information. So it's great. Now I want to design all these things. I want to do all this stuff, but oops, I have no money. So now what? What the heck do we do now to spread the gospel and get the word out? Well, remember I said before, you want to build a website that tells who you are, what you do, why it might be of interest to them. Most of my people are in a sort of a triage situation. There's some sort of crisis or transition that they're in, and they look to us to be that one-stop resource. Ah, good. I could just go to Joe. I could go to personal property. Did they handle it all? Whew. You could actually see there's an audible exhale, like, oh my God, this is an answer to my dreams, because I've been taking care of an elderly loved one for maybe 6 months or maybe years. I'm out of gas. I'm out of gas emotionally, spiritually, financially, mentally, in every way possible. So people love that. And then if you want to make a website, it's really important to have a website that is designed in what they call a responsive design mode. Does anybody have any idea what a responsive design is? Professor, did you go over that with these guys?
No, not at all.
Okay. A responsive design, guys, that means that your website can be viewed on any device. It's adaptable to any device. Have you ever opened up something on your iPhone and it's a website and you can't even read the darn thing? It's all squished, right? Or you can't size it, it's this and that. If you have a website that is designed, it's built into the code, something called a responsive design, and please, if you're taking any notes on this, jot down those two words, responsive design, with a website. It allows your website to fit in any device that you're looking at, whether it's an iPad, whether it's your laptop, whether it's a desktop, whether it's your iPhone or any mobile device you're using. It expands and contracts based on whatever device you're using. That's super important.
Hey,
Now,
Joe,
guerrilla marketing.
Hey, Joe, can we talk about that for 1 second?
Yeah.
So when you were in the middle of creating the current website you had for your business,
Yep.
Were you interacting with a website designer, or did some of the things we're seeing here on your site, did you do some of them on your own? Did you create the site like in WordPress?
What I did is I storyboard my website. I designed everything in the website. I spent a lot of time researching not only sites that have sort of similar type within my field, but I looked at, I'm telling you, probably hundreds of websites in terms of design, look, feel, navigational ease, drop-down boxes, things of that nature. And then I worked with a local website designer. Mine is all designed with Dreamweaver, Craig. And they built it into the code to make this thing a responsive design, so that it expands and contracts whenever you need it.
Right, so there was a time for those people who need to hear this when smartphones didn't exist. And when the smartphone technology first emerged and you were able to connect out to the internet to view materials on the internet, the people that had created website content up till that point had no need to be concerned about your screen size being very, very small. And the fact that when you interact with those websites, you're not going to see very much of a website. And if you are, it's going to be kind of like the global view satellite view, where you see a website all crushed up small, and you've got to find mechanisms to zoom in with your fingers. It was just a kind of a catastrophic event at the very beginning. So all the websites had to be redesigned so they would then compress and kind of fold over themselves, so you'd have that responsive design on your particular mobile device. So it's inferred today, almost like it's inferred that every phone gets a text message and every phone can get to the web. It's inferred today that every website created has a responsive design technology built in. I was sold by the website designer that did mine. Oh yeah, yours has to have responsive design. And I didn't understand it. I said, well, what is it exactly? And he told me, I said, well, sure. That makes perfect sense. Why, it needs that. Like, why would you even tell me, like, it's a sales pitch, right? Just build that in, right? You're not gonna, don't tell me about that. It's something that's obvious. So today it's obvious, but there was a time when it was very new tech or a very new feature. So thank you.
Okay, so that's responsive design. In fact, I don't even know of any reputable website designer and builder or hoster that does a website that doesn't make it responsive design. Maybe, you know, we see a lot of stuff on the internet for those, you know, hey, design your website for $99, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure if they have them as responsive design. It's kind of a no frills thing. But if you're going out to have somebody design a website, you need to have it be responsive design. So I hope that helps. And thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Let me see if I can get back to this. Okay, guerrilla marketing, as we mentioned before, you want to reach out to your target market. What is your message? Who cares? How do you reach them? What will your campaign look like? And most importantly, how do you do it for free? And I'm going to share with you some examples. So here's an example. This is real life. This is what we do and how we do it. In this particular case, this is, I designed, this thing is called a thumbnail. You guys probably know what a thumbnail is. But this is, if you've ever turned on LinkedIn or Facebook, perhaps on Instagram or TikTok, and you'll see kind of a picture. I go with the old adage, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. In this particular one, this is a thumbnail that I designed around senior downsizing made easy. So I just wanted to picture, you know, a couple of old timers like me, right? They're at their boxes. They look like they're kind of tired. Maybe they've accomplished their task. You know, what is this? This is senior downsizing. So I make a little thumbnail. I post this. This is an exact shot of something that I have right on Facebook right now, senior downsizing. There's always a link to my website. I always have please share, comments welcome, and then a bunch of different hashtags on here. So this is an example of a thumbnail that I put together with no logo on it. Here's an example of one. This is kind of apropos. I don't know if you had it out in New York, but this weekend in this greater Philly area, it was pretty bone chilling over here. And we, believe it or not, we had a 50-degree temperature drop over this weekend. We went from close to 70 degrees down to below the 20s. And we had a little bit of a mini snowstorm over here. So one of the programs that we offer in this particular case, this is a home watch service program, like avoid winter issues with broken pipes and things of that nature. But in this particular case, again, I have a shot. Here's a house. There's a bunch of snow. You got a home watch pro. What's that? Oh, and then this is with the branding in the bottom. So in some cases, I design it without our brand or our logo in the bottom. In some cases, I put it, you know, it's all experimentation over here. Some cases I put my little picture over here and a link to our website. Again, there's the same, there's a heading, there's a link to our website on this specific program, not just our homepage, on this specific program and hyperlinks to it. Here's an example of one of a thumbnail that I put together. And this is designed specifically towards a target market. Now I'm narrowing my focus a little bit more. In this particular one, this is geared towards social workers. Social workers typically will get involved with people that, you know, elderly loved ones that may need some special assistance on here. And I have a whole page on social workers on my website, gearing towards them and speaking their language. So in this particular case, it was, hey, social workers, thanks. You guys do an awesome job. I have little videos, and I'll show you a second on that. Little videos and my hashtags. I even write, in my case, I write a bunch of articles. I try to, Professor DeVito calls it, you know, be a subject matter expert. What I try to do is write a whole bunch of different articles pertaining to my subject matter. In this particular case, it's the 2002 housing market. for those of you who may be interested in housing or real estate or business in general, you know that the housing market is just going through the roof. It's sort of like gas prices. You know, gas prices are up, I think, $1 a gallon over the last maybe 2 months. Housing is going up through the roof on this thing. So I write a bunch of articles on this stuff. Why is this important? Because when you design your business and your website, there's a term we use called a sticky site, kind of like fly paper. You know, you touch your hand to it, it's sticky. In other words, you want to always bring people to your site and you want them to stick on your site. You don't want them to do a quick, I think the average search is like 4 seconds. Greg, I think you might have more information on this, but if you're scrolling through Google and you're looking up something, if you don't find what you're looking for, or if a website is too confusing, you know, there's a lot of websites that there's either too much information, you're boring me to death, or there's not enough information, or I can't figure out that it's not navigational friendly. I can't get around, I'm lost on this thing. So I try to make my websites as sticky as possible, make it very information rich. So it's not just, hey, buy me, buy my product, use my product, please, 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 please. I have a whole bunch of industry insights on it. Again, this particular thumbnail, I'm targeting this towards Facebook and LinkedIn specifically, because that's 85% of my target market. In this particular case, it's downsizing and content sale, and this one has my logo. This one, we do a lot of homes, believe it or not, that are hoarder homes. So we have, you know, a lot of elderly people are what I call mobility challenged. That means they're in a wheelchair, they can't get around, they have walkers, et cetera, and their houses are just, in many cases, unfortunately, a mess just because they're mobility challenged, they can't get around. They're also part of what's commonly called the greatest generation. That was the, you know, that World War II generation where everybody pulled together. So there's a lot of people that came and started their lives and careers with nothing, and they built things up over a period of time. These are people that never want to throw anything out. So I don't know if you have grandparents or aunts and uncles or neighbors that you go over to a place that looks like a bomb went off. We do a lot of those home clean out sales. Let me share with you something else over here. So that's kind of it from a, I'll call it a static or print presentation perspective. Let me see if I could get over here to this. What I have done also is designed a whole bunch of videos. Like you guys are part of that YouTube generation. And a lot of people want to know what I call the Wizard of Oz effect, which is who's behind the curtain. So I design a bunch of videos, again, relating to my topics, specifically telling people who we are, what we do. And here's an example of it. Hopefully you can see it and or hear it.
Hello, this is Joe Santoro from Personal Property Managers. Let me give you an overview of who we are and what we do. We're dedicated to making your life as simple and easy as possible. So what does that mean? We provide services strictly dedicated to real estate, the property, and your contents. It's literally that simple. So if you need clean out and downsizing and decluttering services to get your house market ready for sale, those are pretty overwhelming tasks physically and mentally. We handle that for you. If you're thinking about selling the contents of your home, we provide estate sale and home content liquidation services. If you need to move some of your contents, perhaps from one house to another, or perhaps you're moving some contents from your home into a smaller community or assisted living community, we can take care of that for you. If you're going to be leaving your home for an extended period of time, perhaps taking an overseas assignment for work, we provide absentee home watch services. So when you can't be there, we can and we are. We keep an eye on your property as if it was our own. Want to rent your property? No problem. We provide property rental services and tenant management services. Want to sell your home? We provide a full array of full service discount real estate services. And lastly, if you want to sell your home as quickly as possible, but don't want to get involved with all the things that may need to be done, we buy homes for cash. So Personal Property Managers is dedicated to making your life just a little bit simpler, just a little bit easier, just a little bit less complicated. So for more information, please look us up on the net at personalpropertymanagers.com.
Nice, Joe.
Let me just kind of finish on this thing. So where are we at over here on the PowerPoint? So I'm saying the same message. I take a look at, who our target market is. We explain who we are, what we do, how we do it, sort of features and benefits. And everybody processes things, guys, a little bit differently, right? Some of you may want to read things and look at the fine details. Well, we have all of that stuff. Some of you are just, cut to the chase. Let me see the video on this. What we've also done, lastly, and I have on my website, I have probably 3 dozen videos. That video that you just saw is probably the longest video we have, which was about 2 minutes. Most of our videos are about 90 seconds. Nobody wants to see War and Peace on this thing and watch somebody talk for 15, 20 minutes. It's just get to the point real quick. So on my website, I have a whole bunch of resource videos on this. Remember we were talking before about, again, 85% of my business is on Facebook and LinkedIn. One of the important things that you guys can do, if you're doing this, is join various groups. There's groups on Facebook, there's groups on LinkedIn. And this is an example. If you take a look at this left side, this is just one snapshot of a number of groups that I belong to within Facebook. And on your right, this is just a snapshot of just a number of the groups that I belong to in LinkedIn. Again, why is this important? You always want to fish where the fish are. You just don't want to randomly throw stuff out there and hope and pray that someone takes a look at your stuff. You want to always increase your odds for success. Lastly on this thing, my same message that you guys just saw in print and thumbnails and static in LinkedIn and Facebook and so on, also that message you just saw on that little video. I also have produced a series, several dozen podcasts as well. You might be driving in a car and you want to listen to something on a particular subject. I don't know if you listen to podcasts, but you could tune into our podcast, and I have it on iTunes, and I probably have 3 or 4 dozen of these things. Or if you're at the gym. So let me see if I could share. Just again, this is just less than 2 minutes. I'll share with you something over here if I can. Where are we at over here? Let's see if that's up. Okay, here's an example, and this goes on WordPress, and Professor DeVideo might share with you. WordPress is a great place for blogging. So I make a little thumbnail, right? And then if you want to play it.
Welcome to our podcast. This is Joe Santoro of Personal Property Managers. Our business and this podcast and each of our episodes focuses on helping you with all things relating to your home contents, such as downsizing or selling unwanted.
So that's an example of that. And getting back to the PowerPoint. So again, this is an example. I have a whole host of podcasts that I've wrote and developed from episode 1, I think, through episode 20. So I got a couple of dozen of these things. My articles that I wrote on a whole series of subjects. The number one thing you could do to help sell your home, to top 5 tips on how to flip a house, to you name it. It's on there. I want to go back over here, if I can, to wherever the heck my website is. Okay, this is on my website. So if you went on the About Us section on my website, I have a page that's resource links. All the things that I just shared with you are right here on this one page. So I have a whole litany of things with articles that I wrote. So this is if you want to read, avoid buyer and seller mistakes, 9 secrets to helping you sell your home. Again, this is all pertaining to my particular business, and I want to make my site as sticky as possible. People will see it as a resource. Downsizing tips, working with seniors. Here's a list of all the different podcasts that I have, which is a bunch of them. And then I produced a whole bunch of these videos as well on here. I want to go back to over here. So again, this is a real life example of what I have done. And let me just share with you on this. I've not spent a dime on any of these things. Everything that you see here, I've done, believe it or not, on my iPhone. If you saw my little videos, I put my iPhone on a tripod. And if you saw I had something in my hand, it looked like a little clicker. That's exactly what it was. It was a remote Bluetooth control. So I had my iPhone on a tripod. I just clicked it and then I just winged it. I just recorded whatever topic I wanted to. The podcast, I did that from my home as well. So there's a lot that you can do on your own, but I just wanted to share with you kind of if you're starting your own business, or even if you're working with another company, if that's what your goal and your dream and your job is, that you want to be focused in on what is your vision or the company's vision, who is your target market and target audience, and how do you reach them, and what is the most effective way to do it, the most efficient way, the best way, and the cheapest way. So that's just taking a look at things on a recap over here from my perspective. I hope this was of some interest. I hope it was of some benefit to you. Yeah, you're younger, you got part of the whole TikTok generation and Instagram. Everything is so quick and fast, and I'm sure there's a million things that you can do way better than me. But in this particular case, my target market and my audience and the people that want and or need my services, I'm fishing where the fish are. And that's kind of the end that I have for you. And if you guys have any questions whatsoever, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I try to share everything that I learned over 25 plus years on the corporate side, on the entrepreneurial side with my business. So Professor DeVidio, if you have any questions or your people, feel free. If not, it's been my pleasure.
Yeah, Joe, there's a couple things. First of all, my God, I'm not even sure where to start. I want to thank you, Joe. This was really a wonderful look into the way you currently are actively marketing and using really all the tech that's associated with the web. I'm just really impressed. I'm impressed by you, and I'm impressed by your by you starting this. Can you give me an idea, Joe? I mean, again, some of these are private questions, and remember, you are on the cord, so don't divulge proprietary information you don't want to. So, Joe, how long have you been in the real estate industry?
I've been in the real estate industry. I've been doing this for about 10 years now.
Okay, so 10 years ago, obviously things were different than they are today.
Correct.
Regarding, what it meant to get started, what it meant to get licensed, what it meant to go out and start working with somebody else and learning the ropes. What really instigated you to take this powerful approach to having such a very, very large tree with the hundreds of limbs and the millions of branches and the trillions of twigs? You've got you got things going out in every direction, and it's amazing to me actually in a lot of ways. So were you comparing yourself to other local real estate organizations and seeing their failures? How did you develop as much out as you have?
No, as I shared with you before, my background, I was a VP for Anheuser-Busch, Pepsi, and Kellogg for about 25 years. My son went in the service. He went in the Marine Corps. He did 3 tours over in Iraq and got wounded over in Iraq. So I had the typical corporate experience that many of you may be experiencing, in the very near future. You start with a company, and then you hopefully do well with a company, and then they relocate you and you go from point A to point B, et cetera, et cetera. So I had 6 different corporate physical moves to different geographic areas of the country. And I learned a lot along the way. I've always been a troubleshooter. On the companies that I was with, I was the Mr. Fix-It. When something was broke and needed fixing, you call Joe. So that's kind of what I did throughout my career in sales, marketing, operations, distribution, and finance. So I had my hands on a lot of different things over time. Well, once my son was discharged from the service, we had a couple of years where we had, recovery period for him, treating of various injuries. Thank God he's doing fantastic now. Everything is good. He has all his limbs. He has all of his mobilities. In fact, he come out sort of baby steps, went to community college for a couple of years because we were doing a lot of medical treatment things. And he ultimately graduated from Drexel University in Philly. He's my business partner on this thing. So when he got wounded and was coming out of the service, I said, I got to get off of all this corporate stuff. You're kind of a corporate nomad. You're all over the place. And I wanted to be with my family and take care of my family. So I actually went back to grad school. I know you guys are in undergrad right now, but I went back to grad school to Penn after being out of school for 20 plus years. And it took me 4 years, nights and weekends and holidays. And I kind of came up with this concept that just sort of on my own, because I was taking care of an elderly aunt. We were that executor of the estate, but we were a caregiver before that. And I had nobody to turn to. I had nobody to help. Everybody's busy. There was not a one single source that I could go to for all of this stuff. So then I started sort of brainstorming. I would go for these long bike rides or a long run, and I was brainstorming. And believe it or not, as I said early on in the presentation, I thought about Microsoft and Microsoft Office specifically. They're a bundled service approach, right? If you take a look at the top of any Office product, all the icons are all exactly the same, right? You go to one thing, it does it all. It's a single source. They have sort of a monopoly on anything to do with these sort of PowerPoint presentations and Word and spreadsheets. And so that's my inspiration of, I had a need by taking care of an elderly loved one, and I wanted to simplify things to be a one-stop resource to make it sort of a sticky thing. And then over a period of time, I developed, you said, Greg, hey, you're doing this thing. You started it 10, 12 years ago. We didn't have a lot of this stuff that we have today. So I started out, I'm probably on my 3rd or 4th generation of website. And the website at the time was the business card of the 21st century, right? It was just, you got to have a website. And most of them were pretty terrible, to be honest with you, fairly static. But I kept on mine on a pretty regular basis. Strategically, I looked at it and kept trying to develop it and make it better and better and better and better. Then I learned about responsive design, and I incorporated that into my website. And then I thought about people, on how people process things. Some people are real anal. They want to read everything. Great. I got all of that stuff if you want to read it. Some people want to hear it. They're more auditory, right? Show me the podcast. No, let me listen to the podcast. And a lot of people now are into the videos. But when I made my videos, they're all subject matter driven, and they're all brief. Most of my videos are 90 seconds. I think that longest one I showed you was 2 minutes and 14 seconds. That's what the people want. And it also gave some validation, right? Have you guys ever been on a website and you're wondering, who the heck are these people? Who are they? You know, how do I know I'm putting my trust in them? Well, by putting the video on there, it gets to the point, obviously, pretty quickly. But they see me on the video and they go like, okay, he seems like a pretty stand-up guy. He seems like a pretty credible guy. I'm going to trust him with my grandma's stuff. You know, it's the most valuable, dear thing in our life. So I just, you know, learning has to be a lifelong event and a lifelong process. So just because you develop something today or you have an idea today, keep plugging away, keep tweaking it, keep refining it, always keep learning, and then incorporate those things, those best practices into whatever business you're working on, or social media or new media or website that you're working on. So it always needs to be a daily, in my opinion, work in progress.
And Joe, in many cases, you're like a farmer working the farm every single day, right?
That's
And,
it.
So you're like a farmer working the farm every single day, right? You're out there constantly churning the field, you know,
Yep.
finding ways of fertilizing the ground, figuring out what's growing and what's not growing, and paying attention to your business sense, to your business presence. Is again, I just think I don't have the proper grammar for it, but it's really just a pretty amazing thing. I know many people in the media-based industry, and not many people do anything close to the kind of things you do and the effort you put into making your business presence known through the web.
Well, you know, another thing, again, I was with some world-class companies, the Pepsis of the world and the Anheisers and so on and so forth, right? They're world-class marketers. And if you stop and think, they say the same message over and over and over, but they use the different delivery formats to get this message out. What do I mean by that? They use transit advertising, which is on the side of buses, or maybe if you're, you know, on a Pico line, or you're in a subway, or you're on a train, you see all that advertising on the top, right? They use transit advertising. They use billboard advertising. They use radio advertising. They use print advertising. They obviously use TV and multimedia advertising. It's the same darn thing. It's just how people prefer to listen to it. And then there's that thing, Greg, that they call it the rule of 7, right? You got to hear something 7 or 8 or more times before you finally, oh, that's what they do, right? Remember, like the old VA commercial, like, oh, I didn't realize that's what that's what they do. Oh, I didn't know they're in the landscaping business, or they're in the truck repair business, you know? So I kept learning and experimenting, and I always ask people a lot of questions, and I encourage their feedback, good or bad, and you just keep tweaking and refining along the way.
Well, you've got a group of students here, Joe, who I'm hoping some of your fantastic approaches to communicating over the internet has inspired them at some level. Let me reach out to them and see if they have any questions. We have one from the back. Ella?
Okay, so I actually have 3 questions, and I'll start with the more like technical one. When you were choosing your company colors, did you go for like a psychological aspect, or did you just choose like colors randomly? I don't know.
I couldn't quite hear. You're saying something about the psychological and the company. Could you repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
Sorry. When you were when you were choosing your company colors, was it something like that you did research on the psychological effect of the colors that you chose, or was it more like, was there anything significant about your company colors?
You know, that's a good question. In terms of the company colors, I wanted to make it sort of inviting. It's blue, it's light blue. It's not like dark, somber, overbearing, impersonal colors. So like if you look at my background over here, I took my family, we went to Italy a couple of years ago, and this is actually a shot. I don't know where the heck we were, at some Pisa or Assisi or something like that I have in the background. But if you look in the background, right, what do you see? You see that nice, the blue sky. It's just something, I feel like I wanted it to be approachable. So that's an aspect that I wanted to use. I felt like some of the darker, bolder colors were too impersonal, and I wanted to make mine more open, more friendly. But great question.
Can I put a hanger on that?
Yep.
So that's a great question from Ella. In Philadelphia, there's a company called Weichert Realtors, right? And they use yellow signs, big giant yellow, like B signs, like they knock you over. And then you've got Remax, who has the red, white, and blue. So I really appreciate your thinking about the coloration, because you run a real live normal real estate company too, where you could sell homes.
Yep.
It's not just this option. So you're multifaceted in what you do. And have you found that your signage on lawns draws the same kind of response as other signage? Because I talked to a Weichert guy once, and they told me, oh, we do yellow because it knocks you over, right? They want it to be like a knock you over thing.
You know, you probably could talk to 10 different people and you're going to get 10 different responses. Some people might go, yellow is caution. You know, who the heck knows on this stuff?
Sure.
I think Berkshire Hathaway has this sort of, I don't even know what color you would call it. It's a kind of a cross between a peach and a pastel type of color. Who knows? Some of them are real dark, bold colors, but I wanted to, for my specific business and my website, I wanted to make it sort of approachable and friendly. I don't know if you take it that way. I'd be curious to get your opinion from the student who asked the question. You liked it? You felt that it was comfortable or boring or what? I welcome your opinion either way.
No, I think I did find it comfortable. I also found it familiar because I know that like Progressive uses blue. I think a lot of companies use a light blue, which is kind of good because it's like something familiar, and it's something like when a company has like blue, that means like, okay, they're comfortable, they're like a very inviting company.
I feel safe.
Yeah, right. My other two questions, I don't know if you'll what's the word?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know if you're like a book guy or a music guy, but these are kind of more fun. Is there a certain book that you would recommend, like for people who are about to go into a business or who already have a business that's starting, that you would want them to read so that they can get into?
Well, there's yeah, that's a pretty good question, because I like to read a lot of different things. There was a book. There's two that I'm going to mention. One is an older book and one is a more contemporary book. The older book is Stephen Covey came out with a book probably 50, maybe 20 years ago. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Right.
I absolutely love it. And it's a fun, easy read, but Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The other book that I read, there's a guy right now, he's all over Instagram and YouTube. You ever hear of this Gary V? Gary V is Vaynerchuk, and he's got a book, I think it's called Crushing It. I was looking, I don't have it in my library right behind me, but Gary V, Crushing It. And he's absolutely awesome. He's, you know, a younger person like you guys. He drops the F-bomb like every other word, but he has got such a following. He's huge. His family immigrated from Russia probably 35 years ago. They opened up a liquor store in New Jersey, and he got started, believe it or not, doing that. Now he's into, you know who Mark Cuban is on Shark Tank, right?
Yes,
He's
I
kind of
do.
like, pardon me?
Yes, I do. I actually know my brother-in-law is actually friends with some of those guys from Shark Tank. So I know the
Okay,
concept.
so he's kind of like a millennial version of of Cuban on this thing. So those are the two, but Crushing It and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
I'm sorry, can we go back to the fact that you know people from Shark Tank?
No, not right now. We can do that when we're done with Joe. For a minute.
Okay. Go ahead. I'd love any more questions that they have.
And then the last one would be, I got the privilege of interviewing, a Black billionaire who came, earlier in the semester. And the question that he gave to me was, ask me what I listened to before I came here to give this speech. So was there a song that you listened to or like an affirmation that you listened to before you talked to us today, or something that you normally listen to before you talk to people?
I don't have a specific song that I need to get pumped to, talk to a group on, but this weekend we had a great experience. I went for the very first time. I don't know if you've ever been to Philly, and went to this place called the Kimmel Center. And at the Kimmel Center, they had this concert that we attended, and it was the Beatles, and it was this group that looked like the Beatles, dressed like the Beatles, sang like the Beatles, instruments. They were phenomenal, backed up by a 70-piece Philadelphia Pops orchestra. It was absolutely amazing. And so I'm kind of humming Beatles songs in my head, and I'm always amazed. I was just a kid when they were kind of coming out. This is like 50 years ago, believe it or not, right? I was like a kid when they were coming out, and I'm always amazed to this day that younger people, yourself perhaps included, you could hear on the radio a Beatles song, and everybody just relates to it. Everybody seems to know all the words to every song. So that's kind of some of the stuff that I listen to. But I like all different types of music. But no, I don't need to have one particular song that I listen to get me pumped and psyched to come out behind the curtain and make a presentation like this.
I've got a comment of that. Do you have a question? So Joe, you made a reference earlier about phones, about cell phones, and what it means to own a cell phone, and what a lot of people do, what they own primarily. So I'm an Android user. I'm sorry about that. I'm an Android user, and in my phone, I've got a folder. I've got a fairly big flash SSD card. So I've got like a 200 gigs of room, right?
Yeah.
And I did that for the purpose so I could swap files around on my computer. For years, I've been gathering audio clips, which are a version of podcasts on the affirmation, the affirmation world, right? So I found people from the book, The Secret. Did you ever read the book, The Secret, Joe?
No, I don't think so.
Well, so there's a whole bunch of different books on, self-edification and learning self-worth and training you how to talk to clients and what it means to remember names and all those different things. So I've got a bunch of sales material on my phone. So when I have that moment when I'm not doing anything, right, I remind myself, I can there's a positivity series I listen to about just understanding what your value is to you and your family and the people around you. And those things do end up encouraging me, making me feel better about myself and where my place is in the world. And that's similar. So for Ella's question, there are those times that people will reflect onto the audio or the video content they may have to help them feel better about themselves. It's very important that you do those things. And in Joe's case, when he comes out on stage, there are people that listen to a song or something to rev them up, or my wife goes out running, she listens to certain music to keep her. I heard about Pitbull earlier. She's a big Pitbull fan. I want to see Pitbull. So I can appreciate the question. That was a great thought too there, Ella. Thank you.
I always suggest, I'm not sure if I read it in the book somewhere, but kind of last comment. I believe in this thing called the power of one. You guys ever hear of the power of one? It's doing that one thing.
Very well.
They're sort of peeling the onion back. So if you're looking for it in your world, right? soon you may be graduating, and soon you may want to be going out into the workforce, and soon you want to get that first job. It's kind of, where the heck do you begin? And I believe strongly in you ultimately have to put one foot in front of the other. Whatever you do one darn thing. So start with something very macro, very, very big, in the power of one. Like, this year I want to get a new job. Okay, that's great. Well, then this month, right? This month I'm going to apply to one company. And then how about this week? Now I'm going to make it more from my macro to micro. This week I'm going to apply to one company. Today I'm going to apply to one company in the morning and one company in the afternoon. I'm going to apply to one company each hour. Just do something, whatever it is that you're doing, try and do something. And I always believe in being around positive people and positive thinkers. I'm telling you, I will avoid you like the plague. If I think that you're a negative person and you're doing the Chicken Little, the sky's falling, and the woe is me, I can't be around you. So you have to be, especially on the entrepreneurial side, because you have no one else to blame but yourself, and you have no one else to praise but yourself. So I just try to keep things as upbeat and as positive as possible. And, I'm bombarded with situations. Remember I said earlier, all of my businesses involved around some form of a triage. So I have people that are pretty bummed out all the time because, they got laid off, they're relocating, they're moving from their family and their familiar surroundings, going somewhere else. They have to put an elderly loved one into a nursing home, or someone passed away. So I just try to be as upbeat and as positive as I can, and surround myself with like-minded people. So the more you could stay upbeat and positive, and use whatever tools you can, or be around as many people as you can. I love the Jersey Shore, right? So if I'm bummed out, I want to go down the shore and I just want to walk along the boardwalk. I think better. My head is clear, or I'm seeing the water. I'm a water person. I'm seeing the water. I'm hearing the water. I'm smelling the water. I'm touching the water. I'm walking along the water. For me, I don't know, there's something therapeutic about it. I'm getting in touch with my Zen self over here. I don't know what the heck it is, but I think and feel better that way. And I get a lot of my most inspirational thoughts doing that. Or as simply, I designed my website by cutting my grass, believe it or not. We need distractions to keep our mind off of things. And sometimes they're doing little stupid things. It's just you're walking, taking a long walk. You have time to think. You're not bombarded with all these other outside distractions. And every once in a while, I know everybody's got this thing called FOMO, fear of missing out. And we have our phones attached to our body. In the shower, the phone is there. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's in our car. We're bombarded with this stuff. Sometimes you need time to just process things and think and reflect. Maybe it's my own form of Italian meditation. I don't know what it is, but that works for me. Find out whatever it is that is your inspiration, that turns you on. Do it. It just really works wonders, in my opinion.
Joe, I'm very appreciative. I know we're coming down to the last couple of minutes, and these guys are gonna want to go soon, so I'll take last questions.
Yeah, I know we don't have a lot of time, but because you said about the FOMO thing, how did you balance creating your website and like pushing your website without getting too like entranced into your phone? Like, how do you separate those two?
That's a really, really good question. And it's the light switch thing. You definitely need two things. You need time management is really important, and on time and off time. Like there's times when I'm in the zone, like most of those videos or podcasts or articles that you see, I wrote them or videoed them in one shot. Like I'll film 6 or 8 videos literally in one shot, and then I got to go away from it. I got to, manage my business and work my business and do my stuff. And while I'm doing that, I'm thinking about other different things. So you really need some sort of work and life balance. I can't stress the importance of that, and putting things in buckets that you can work on that are manageable. Otherwise, it just gets too overwhelming. You get bogged down. Where do I begin? Where do I end? Where do I even start on this thing? So I do mine in spurts. It's a marathon. It's definitely a long distance marathon, but there's times when you have to sprint, and there's times when you have to walk, but it's definitely a long distance marathon. And when it's your own business, honestly, it's on your mind 24/7, and you have to have mental games that turn it on and turn it off. That's what I have found to be most beneficial and successful for me. But that's a really, really good question.
So I'm very appreciative of your time you spent here today, Joe. And again, I can't thank you. We throughout the curriculum, we may have the pleasure and the honor of having a guest speaker come in and do something similar to what you did to the students today. But I'll tell you, this was overwhelming, and we appreciate. Joe, as I said to you before, soon, or not too much later, but soon, we'll share a meal again and break some bread. And again, my treat again for thanks for today. Joe, I do want to say something to you about the negative people in your life. This will be the last thought, that sometimes there's negative people in your family. Sometimes they're a close friend who just doesn't understand you and doesn't understand what you're building. And sometimes you have to cut out family, and sometimes you have to cut out friends.
Yep.
You just can't be around the negativity. And that could be as close as your brother or sister. It could be your mother or father. That could be your son or daughter. It's very challenging. So it's to do things right and to actually make things work. You can't be around that negative behavior. And Joe, I'm so thankful. Anybody else have any thoughts about for Joe? So I'm really, let's give you a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening. Thank you for the questions. I hope this was helpful, because it's not just theory. This is real world, real life stuff. So thank you again. Thanks, Greg.
And I appreciate you, Joe. I'll talk to you later, but thank you so much.
All right. See you, buddy.
Much love. Let me sign off with Joe. Hold on one second. Give me a second before you all leave. Just 20 seconds. Let me just sign off. Hold on.